Alright, in this video I'm going to be showing you how to do integration by parts, and this is the formula that you go by. So let's just start with a problem. Right here we have the integral of x squared times e to the x dx, so we're going to be integrating with respect to x. And the first thing you want to start with is picking your u, and then you also want to pick a dv. So always in integration by parts you have the product of two things. Uh, so one of these two has to be your u, and the other one is going to be dv. So I'm going to go ahead and pick u as x squared, and if u is x squared, then du, the differential of it, would be 2x dx. And then if I pick this one to be u, then this one has to be dv. How do we go from dv to v? You would just integrate. So the integral of e to the x with respect to x is simply e to the x. So now we have this information right here, and we're going to go ahead and plug it into this formula. So we would get uv, that would be x squared times e to the x minus the integral of v du. So v e to the x times 2x dx. Well, now you're wondering how do we integrate this? Well, guess what? You're gonna have to do the integration by parts formula again. So we're integrating this by parts. So this is basically a two integral by parts question. So now this part, we're gonna do the same thing, picking. So we have two things being multiplied together. So one has to be the u, and the other has to be dv. So I'm going to pick u as 2x. du would be equal to 2 dx. And then dv has to be the e to the x. And then what's v? V would be the integral of dv. So then v would be integral of e to the x, which is e to the x. Okay? So now this would be, we'll just bring down that, x squared e to the x minus the integral. So now we have minus, and now we have this formula all over again right here. So minus uv, we have another uv here. This would be 2x e to the x, so 2x e to the x minus the integral of v du. V du would be v du, so e to the x times 2x dx. That would be e to the x times 2 dx, and then that's it. So now, let's go ahead and simplify this. So you would keep that, x squared times e to the x. We distribute the negative, so minus 2x e to the x, and that would be plus the integral. Let's just bring this constant out. So plus 2, and then integral of e to the x dx. So now this is simply this is a very simple integral, and that would just be so the constant, we could just cover that. The integral of e to the x is e to the x, and then we have the constant 2e to the x. So then finally your answer would be x squared, we're bringing this portion down, so x squared e to the x, now this one, minus 2x e to the x plus 2e to the x. Now, okay, this is an acceptable answer, but if your professor or teacher wants you to simplify it to the end, you could, let's see, factor out e to the x, and then you'd be left with x squared minus 2x plus 2. And that would be it. And then, since this is it's an indefinite integral, we don't have any bounds here, we weren't given any bounds, then you're going to have to put a plus c at the end.